Connecticut is recognized.
Good morning, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. I have to say before I start, although it's not this subcommittee, but the full committee, I heard the comments from the chair of the full committee about this hearing actually addressing school safety. And while sports are important for school safety, we have to have a hearing on this committee to address school shootings and the safety of our children in American schools. To have woken up on December 14th, the 13th anniversary of Sandy Hook, to yet another incidence of school-based violence and shooting, and for this committee to have done nothing is beyond irresponsible. I sent a letter on September 12th, and while the chair has informed me that my comments were, quote, noted, as a member of this committee, I expect something more, and the American people, and I know that my constituents expect something more than just to normalize school shootings and teach our children how to shelter in place. So with that, I'll move on to the topic of this hearing. Mr. Boyle and Mr. Ferry, welcome from Connecticut. It was a little bit colder here this week. It feels like Connecticut, not typically what the weather here is like, but thank you so much for your work in this area. Previously, children in communities across the country could participate in local recreational sports programs regardless of their family's income. Unfortunately, today, that is no longer a reality, with private equity firms rapidly buying up youth sports leagues, training programs, recreational facilities, and even the software programs used to register youth athletes. With each purchase, costs rise and families are left with fewer options. If you want to have a productive conversation about declining youth sports participation, we have to really be honest about what is really driving families away, and that is affordability. Parents are opting out of youth sports because they're being priced out. There are not that many available options that are free. Private equity firms are raising costs at a time when families are already struggling to make ends meet. What was once a community activity has become a multi-billion-dollar for-profit driven industry. Mr. Ferry? Mm-hmm. Mr. Ferry, according to the Aspen Institute, youth sports generated about $19 billion in 2022. Despite rising costs for families, the industry did not just grow, it skyrocketed to roughly $40 billion, nearly doubling its annual revenue in only a few years. As a teacher, I've seen so many of these kids who did not make one team, but travel leagues were not an option because their family could not afford the equipment, the fees, the time commitment, all of those things, and they truly believed in their kids and wanted the best for them. In your testimony, you acknowledge that parents are being priced out of youth sports and private equity firms have played a growing role. How can participation grow when the price to play continues to rise and families have nowhere else to turn?
Yeah, I appreciate it. By the way, we raised our kids in Connecticut and understand everything you're talking about. Again, I think part of the equation is helping municipalities understand that they have some say-so over this. They have the ability, through the power of the permit, through the use of these fields, renting out these fields under certain conditions. You could say to local groups, terrific, we'll rent this to you, but also show us that, like, you've got X number of kids, a percentage of your kids who are low income, or, free and reduced lunch, however you define it, or you're serving kids from the community and not kids from all over the county, and you're taking our best playing fields. So I do think there's a level of local control. I also think it's a matter of schools fully appreciating the value of sports. So if sports do develop students cognitively, educationally, academically, why are we building the whole model around the kids who are just the very best athletes or who are the early starters? If it's really valuable, shouldn't we create opportunities for every kid to be physically active in the school, whether the school providing that opportunity or having a partnership with a local park and recs or other community groups in the area to connect them to experiences that they could have?
Thank you. My time is almost expired, but you reminded me of many a time where the quarter was about to close and kids knew that a game was coming up and that if all of their assignments were not completed in my class, that they were not I mean, it created this relationship where kids understood they were student athletes and the academics came first. And I saw so many of the kids who were passionate about sports thrive academically because they understood that they had to do well in the classroom in order to even play on whatever field it was. And it just created an amazing symbiotic relationship between myself and those children and their families. With that, I yield back.
Representative Lee of Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.